Hello and welcome to Keep Hope Alive. Today we got a wonderful guest. His name is David Woods Bartley. He is a speaker, but he is going to be speaking on a lot of stuff. His dog Lexi is there too. She's a cute little pug. You see her every now and then. But welcome to Keep Hope Alive. I'm so excited that you're on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And as you'll find out, I don't know if you know, hope is a foundational principle in all the work that I do. So that's why I like being probably annoyingly persistent. Like, please let me on the show.
No, that is fine. That's fine. I do get people that want to be on the show, and it's so funny. Just recently, I think there's been four people, and they said, "Oh, your calendar's not working right," and they're like, "I need to get on," and I was like, "I wish I could clone myself as my answer because I work a full time job too," and I was just like, "But it's such a good message to people. That's the thing." And I
Yeah.
wanna do more. I think I might be adding Tuesdays, trying to do one after work as well. So I'll have 3 days, and then my Sundays, I try to do 3. Sometimes it goes into 4, but I'm trying to figure all that out. So it's a lot of stuff, and it's a great topic.
Oh, it
Lexi, I
is.
I love dogs.
This,
So
yeah. No, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
okay. Well, my first question for you is off topic. How many weddings have you been to in the last 15 years?
That's a good question. I think I average about a wedding a year. So I'd probably say I think 15 is a good number.
Okay, cool. That
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
good number. So,
yeah.
well, so let's say you're going to a wedding. It's the ceremony part. You're walking through the doors. Usually there's something there to sign that the bride and groom will know that you were
Mm.
there. What are they signing?
And I think it's called different things, but for me, it's a guest registry. You gotta
Okay.
let them know in case they didn't see me. Like, look, no, I was there. Look, I signed the book.
I signed the book, yes. Well, one of our biggest sponsors is Life on Record. And what they do instead of doing a book, they have a vintage rotary phone they put out there. And your guests pick it up. They can leave a message. Congratulations on your
Oh
big
my
day.
gosh.
Now you can leave a 5 minute, 10 minute, 30-minute message, but please, if it's a wedding, no 30 minutes. And then right next to it is a QR code. So if there's a line forming and it's long, you can take out your mobile device and scan that code also. But I think everybody likes to pick up the phone and leave the message. But you can use your own phone for before or after. And I think this is such a great concept because it's like the gift
Gosh.
of voice. They will get all these messages, and you can have it either burned on a 12-inch vinyl record or they will do it on a keepsake speaker. They're called a little boom box. So let's say it's their 1 year anniversary, sitting back eating that top layer of cake and sitting back and listening to all those messages. So that's a really great concept. I like it better than a book. I don't know how many people actually go back and look at the book, but I would
Right.
definitely always go back to hear the recordings. I know that for a fact. But for you get this phone number. I say the phone number, you got to return the phone, but you get the phone number for 1 year. And it doesn't matter what kind of event it is. I always use a wedding as a sample, but like family reunions,
Mm.
graduation parties, birthdays, like big milestone ones, whatever the occasion, you can definitely use that. So plans $99. You get the phone number for 1 year. So even if it was a wedding, I tell people, okay, right before the 1 year anniversary, call back that number and say happy anniversary. So you can capture that too. So, but to find more information about them, go to www.lifeonrecord.com. All right. So, my first question of this interview is going to be, who is David Woods Bartley?
You know, that's kind of interesting question. So I'm 61, youngest of four boys. adore, I adore my three older brothers, Jim, Tom, and John, and they're 6, 9, and 11 years older than I. And
Mhm.
We lost our father. Our father, James Hamilton Bartley, everybody called him Ham, died when he was just 42. And unfortunately, it was that evil lung cancer, but he was also saddled with horrific clinical depression. And and I mention all that for a couple of different reasons, but the most important of which is that at the time that my father died, my eldest brother, he really moved in, and from that point to this day, really has continued to be my dad. And I say all that in that at 61, I've been on the planet for 6 decades, and
Hmm.
and I've made this journey that continues, as they say, from mental hellness to mental
Hmm.
wellness. And really now it's about trying to live my life to make my brothers proud, to make my beloved proud. Um, Kids came into my life as little as 7 years ago. Um, my first wife, who I adore and still love very much, and we're friends and very very good friends. We never had children. We took care of animals, which we can talk about later. But
That's
my
awesome.
beloved, my sweetheart now, came with her three beautiful children,
Oh,
and I'm learning. And I think I needed some more time on the planet to be able to be reasonably competent as a bonus dad. And so every day it's about, and I love what you're all about, Nadine. It's just trying to offer some positive contribution to the world, and hope it is my mantra. Um,
yeah.
it's in the work that I do as a speaker. Is the foundation is connection creates hope, and hope saves lives. And
Yes.
it's so, I mean, that's kind of a little taste of who I am.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at, I think, your Facebook page, and I saw hope, and I had to snag it from you because it was like hope pain ends or something. And I was
It's,
like, oh, that is the story of me too. So I was like, I need that picture.
well, yeah. So it's hold on, pain ends. Yeah.
Yes, hold
Yes.
on, pain ends. I just
Right.
love that. I was like, because, I've been going through chronic pain ever since like 2000.
Oof.
So, and
I'm
I
so
just
sorry.
recently got diagnosed. I always say it wrong. I call it MP, but it's neuralgia, paresthesia, whatever it's called. But I have no feeling in my left leg.
Well,
And it's something that is done by a nerve, but it's been untreated for like a year and a half to 2 years. So I'm just at the point like, oh, just rip out that nerve. Like, I want
right.
to be able to feel my whole leg. I'm only 46. I could not imagine being in this much pain going to 80 years old. Like, I
No.
have a granddaughter. I want to be at the park with her and, having fun. My youngest, he's 12 and he plays football. So, mom has to be able to move around.
That's right. Mom, go out
So,
for a pass. Come on.
I do, and you know what? We were out to see my friend yesterday. We went out by Oklahoma and we were swimming in our pool, but we didn't have a football, so we used a water bottle. And I'm like throwing it, just having a good time with him. So I have to be that super mom parent to do all that with him and everything. So, but I love football, and football is just amazing. He's really good at it. And for his age, playing wide receiver and doing touchdowns, I'm like, "Whoa, this is
Really?
cool."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on, brother.
Yeah. So, but definitely. So, like with your journey going through all this, whoo, I read your bio. You've got a story to share. And I'm going to let you lead this, and I'm going to have some questions along the way. So I know
Okay.
that. So I know you used the word hellness, and yeah, seems like that's what you went through. So, uh, guys, if you want tissues, bring them out. But every hellness, there's hope at the end and a learning lesson. So I want to hear everything that you had to go through, but what you learned from it also.
Yeah. So I think that the best place to start would be that on August 31st, 2011, I tried to kill myself. I tried to end my life by suicide. And I did that because what I believed, not what was factual, But what I
Mm,
believed was I was worthless and useless and stupid and pitiful and grotesque and ugly, and the world would be better off without me. All those different things. Beliefs
yeah,
are not necessarily true, but they're powerful.
they
And
are
had been
powerful.
by that point at 48 years old, Nadine, I had lived with depression for almost all of my life. And there's the famous chef David Chang battled bipolar, and he has this incredible quote about depression that he has battled, as mentioned, in which he says, "When you're depressed, you're convinced that everything you think is true."
Mm,
And it's just like, oh, chef, Michael, that's exactly right. And
yes.
so, but my life was saved. God, in the form of a police officer, stopped me from jumping off a 730-foot tall bridge in Northern California. And I was taken off the bridge and to an emergency room and into a psychiatric ward where I would spend the next 15 days and had an incredibly positive experience. But when people found out where I was and why, Nadine, they couldn't figure it out. It made no sense. They're like, what? Wait, David? And my middle name is Woods. Most people call me Woody. And they're like, wait, Woody?
Yeah.
Woody is depressed? Woody thinks he's useless? Woody Woody thought the world would be better off without him? And what really confused him was I was married, as mentioned before, to this beautiful, amazing woman, and we ran an animal sanctuary. And the animal
Hmm.
sanctuary was phenomenal. It was called A Chance for Bliss, named after the
Hmm.
first two 12 and 13-year-old brother sister pair of Boston Terriers that we rescued.
Aw.
And ultimately, Nadine, we had 100 animals. We had 25 horses, 23 dogs, all of whom lived in the house. We had 9 potbelly pigs. We had goats and sheep and ducks and geese. We had 15 different species. And because of
You
the
have
mama,
turtles?
we did
Always
have
have
tur-
to ask for
we
turtles.
had
Yeah, or
we did have
tortoise.
we did have turtles. And because of the
Nice.
mama bear heart of my former bride, we took the ones nobody wanted. So if you were an animal soul, you to come to us, you had to be sick, you had to be dying, you had to have
Yeah.
been tortured, abused, missing limbs, deaf. So we did no adoptions. So animals stayed until they made, as we like to say, their transition. And on June 2nd, 2010, we were the half-page cover story in the life section of USA Today, and yet 14 months later, I was on a dark spot on a tall, tall bridge, one heavy thought away from killing myself. And the question people says is like, dear God, brother, like, what happened? And what happened was I stood at the confluence of two things. One was genetics. My beloved father, I don't have a lot of memories of him, but my 3 older brothers talk about how depressed dad was. And my grandfather had killed himself. So I'm in the line, but my brothers don't have any depression. Like, what happened to Woody? Well, Woody, at 12 years old, was raped, was sodomized on repeat occasions by a Boy Scout leader. And every time this thing did that to me, before he would let me go, Nadine, he would look at me and he'd say, David, don't forget, these are initiations and all the boys go through it,
What?
but we don't talk about it. And so I didn't. And so
Wow.
I can tell you when the monster of depression and I began our relationship. And it's since August 31st, 2011, it has been life has put me into the proximity of, and he had before, but in terms of the question becomes, well, how do you become well? And it is care of body, mind, and spirit, however you define that. And
Hmm.
it's about diet, it's about sleep, it's about exercise, it's about time outside. I'm on 4 meds, take them every day, and and this is it's a thing that I still fight even at 61 years old, and I'm very
Yeah.
compliant. And at the end of last year, I fell into a recurrence of crippling depression, the likes of which I had not had in decades, and was actively suicidal again. And my beloved dad, my eldest brother,
Mm.
and my sweetheart, my my beloved Summer, I put my hands up like this because they're my two North Stars.
Yeah.
They they guided me into ECT or electroconvulsive therapy. And what I
Mhm.
can tell you, Nadine, is 34 sessions later, the most recent of which, like 2 weeks ago, it's changed my life. It's
Oh,
it's
wow.
it has been unbelievable what it has done. Yeah,
So that's,
and
like, with the brain, right?
yeah, so what I do is so now I'm just at once a month. When I started, it was 3 times a week. And there's so much, Nadine, misconception, fear, stigma,
Yeah.
and yet the efficacy rate of this is as a therapy is like 60 to 90%. But people are like, no, wait, you're gonna shock me and cause me to have a seizure? How in the heck is that gonna help me? So here's what happens. So I go in, I see my beloved psychiatrist, Dr. Marasa. So we catch up.
Mhm.
She, as while she's talking, she's putting electrodes around my head.
Mhm.
And then Joanne, the nurse, is putting a blood pressure cuff around my left ankle. And then the anesthesiologist is putting the IV in my right arm. And then right before he's ready to give me the general anesthesia to put me completely asleep, he says the same thing all the time. Are you ready for your nap? And I say, yes, I am. So as soon as I'm asleep, then he gives me
Yeah.
another drug that completely paralyzes me completely. Because what they don't want to happen is when when I have a seizure, if it becomes too vibrant, then I might hurt myself. But I always wondered, I'm like, why is Joanne putting the freaking blood pressure cuff down on my ankle? Well, what they do is they pump that up so that my left foot is not paralyzed, so they can watch my toes to monitor. They know when the seizure is happening in my brain. And the seizure goes for like 30 to 45 seconds. Then when it's done,
45 seconds. So it's like a partial seizure.
oh yeah, it's no more than a minute.
Yeah.
Then they reverse the paralysis. Then when then when I'm just normal, then they put me into recovery. So I'm in recovery for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I go home. Start to finish, I'm at the hospital for about 3 hours. And I've had 34 sessions. And it is
So a seizure with each
oh
session.
yeah, that's exactly. And what happens is they say, well, why? How does it work? Well, what happens is it's basically like the 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 seizures and the activity that goes on in my brain as a result of the seizures rewires my brain, and it floods it with neurotransmitters. It just it I mean, I am a different person. I'm a better person as a result of this procedure, and I may have it for the rest of my life. I don't know. I really don't care because it works. And like you, similar to you, I won't say like you, this has been a hard year. And
Yeah.
I have bone on my left hip. I have no
Oh,
cartilage. It hurts bad.
yeah.
And my business has struggled, which I don't understand. It's just like last year was like people couldn't get a date, and now so the only reason I say that before ECT, if either of those things would happen, Nadine, I am going down Depression Alley. Like you were like, who? And what I can tell you, I have both of these happening right now. I'm not going to have a new hip for another 3 months. And it's not like my calendar is full yet. So I have both of these happenings. And you know what I can tell you? I'm not depressed.
That
I
is
don't
good
think
though.
it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
You see? Okay, I grew up with epilepsy. I still have it to this day. And, it stinks for what I go through because I'll get something, it's called Aurora. So it lets me know before my seizure comes, like 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But I've been trying to figure out, like, ever since I was a little girl, the last time I had a lot like this, I didn't know I was diabetic. And so I guess I need to see if I'm diabetic again because I'm starting to get them and I'm like,
Oh,
uh-oh.
wow.
And
Oh,
I was like, so that and flickering lights back in when I was, well, video games did cause a seizure, but I was at a casino with my friend like 2 years ago and the lights, even though I was winning money, like good money, I was like, I don't freaking care. I was like, she was driving back so I could get my car, and I was an hour away, but my whole intention was to drive back home that night. And she goes, "You said something's not right," and you started convulsing in the car, and I was like, "Oh, no," it's just like,
Mm.
but I've had where I've jumped out of my body before with seizures, so, like, for me to hear, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I really hate seizures." But if it's helping with depression, that's a good thing. So,
Yeah,
because whatever they give us, like, what is it? Zoloft, or there's so many other brands out there. "Oh, you're gonna get this." Now, I hit depression, and they told me the depression was because now with my surgeries, I will be anemic and have iron deficiencies. And iron deficiencies, it hits you like this with depression so fast. I
hmm.
remember calling going, "I don't know, like, all of a sudden I'm at work and I wanna hurt myself for some reason, don't know why. I did learn I need iron infusions, but what is going on?" And my doctor knew, and she goes, "People get depressed very fast." And I never knew that. So,
Yeah,
ye
I'd never heard the relationship between the two.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And you know, I'll share something again, and I love serendipity. My beloved niece, Jordan, has lived with
Mhm.
epilepsy her entire life. So
Yeah.
I am familiar with the incredible difficulties and challenges that you and my beloved niece live with. In fact, so
Mhm.
she just had a surgery, and I know there's a medical name, but it was basically they implanted a particular device in her brain that is
Oh,
that is designed to like you experience with however you do
Laura?
it. Aurora,
Yeah.
thank you. This device will ultimately do that for my niece.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and so, but my niece is amazing. I mean, what she has been
Yeah.
through. Oh, I got so I get the epilepsy thing. I do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not fun.
No.
It's weird because I started when I was, like, 6 years old. So I thought it was only gonna be bad, like, when I was a kid, but no, it's actually getting worse as I get older. So,
Mm.
and I had a podcast with a neurologist, but we were talking about sleep, because if you don't get sleep,
Oh
you can
man.
have a seizure. And it's like, oh, man, like, I hate it because they put me on a sleeping pill because my brain goes a mile a minute. I want to create so many new companies. I can't shut it down. They were like, "Here, we're going to give you Ambien." So it's been like 5 years. I've been on Ambien, but that's a whole nother podcast of stories. But once I'm off of it, I can't sleep the next day. And I'm like, "Oh no, it scares me. Am I going to have a
Mm.
seizure
No,
because
I
of
get it.
this?"
I get it.
Yep.
Totally do.
So,
I'm sorry you
yeah.
have to deal with that.
So, I wanna go back to when you were on the bridge really
Yeah.
quick.
Okay.
You didn't jump, or you did?
No, 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 I didn't. No, you couldn't survive it.
Okay, so
That
they got you
hmm.
before it could even happen. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's a 730-foot drop. You're not surviving that.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm
yeah.
I'm glad somebody did find you and get you the help and everything. So, a lot of people, if they go to a psychiatric place, I hated it and da 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 da. And you don't hear many people say, "I've learned a lot about me and I'm a better person." You
Oh my
know?
gosh. Oh, I mean, I remember my roommate. My roommate's name was Daniel. And I remember
Hmm.
we came from two entirely different socioeconomic backgrounds. And yet I remember at one scene they had these single beds, and my beloved dad, my brother, here's how great he is. So he sends, oh, I cry a lot more since I've had ECT, by the way. So anyway, um,
Yeah.
my brother sends a care package to
Hmm.
me in the psych ward. Okay, no one else got care packages in the psych ward. But here's how great my brother is. Not only that, he knew I had a roommate. He made sure that everything that he gave me, he had one for him as well.
Oh,
Like
that's
like
cool.
that's the lineage that I come from. And my other two
Yeah.
brothers, Jim and Tom, are just the same. They're that great. So
Oh,
I remember I just was just marveled at the staff, and then in all the, all of the counselors and the therapists and the support groups and the various doctors and the different methods and modalities of treatment and therapies and everything else that I've treated
yeah.
that I have been exposed to. I've never met a person in the paradigm of mental health that wasn't a badass. They were
Yeah.
just like a great person. And and this is at like at the county level and at the at the private for-profit level, so I've touched the system, Nadine, in a lot of different points.
Yeah.
I mean, I from being on food stamps to private ketamine transit infusions. I mean, so it's just, but it's just,
I had that.
yeah. So I
Yep.
marvel at, and where I go now for my ECT treatments is a psychiatric hospital called Sutter Psych. And I said to the crew who I've gotten to know really well after 34 sessions. I mean, it's in a very
Mhm.
intimate environment. And I said, you know what? In all the times I've been here, I've never felt like a psych patient.
That's good.
I
Yeah.
felt I really, you guys, like when they open up the door and they're like, David, it's so great to see you. And I'm like, and I had one of the nurses, I was in recovery. Her name is Amanda. And this was like 2 treatments ago. And she said, David, I got to tell you, she said, of all the patients that we've had, we were pulling for you the hardest. And I'd just be like, man,
Yeah.
it's just like, you want to talk about hope? I mean,
Yeah.
that it's, and so when I do my talks, like, so I just, as mentioned, I just gave a sermon today at a church, and it was patience
Yeah.
is a virtue. Patience is a virtue, and
Oh, yes.
really, the sermon was for me. I needed to hear it, but so for me, I oftentimes will at an early part in a talk will read the definition to whatever I'm going to talk about because I'm fascinated by definitions. So
Yep.
do you know what the definition of hope is? You're going to love this if you don't know it.
Okay.
This is like so great. It's amazing.
Well, I learned another one today from you, so go ahead.
And this is right out of the dictionary. So, hope is the feeling that what is wanted can be had.
Yep.
I'm like,
That's
yes, it's doable, it's achievable. I can have it. It's within my reach. I see it. I just like,
yeah.
oh, and I love that it starts with the feeling, not the thought,
The feeling.
not the
Yeah, it's
belief.
the
It's the
feeling.
feeling. We know how
Yeah.
powerful feelings are. That's why I like, oh, it's so, and so I think it is. It's just, I mean, what you talk about. And so in my work, in the work of suicide prevention, is connection creates this thing called hope. And
Yeah.
when someone is in that space, so I come to you, I come to Nadine, and I'm feeling suicidal. Nadine creates connection, which at its core is the experience where I feel seen, heard, and valued.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, okay, of course I'm going to feel hopeful there. So I'm suicidal. Nadine, because of Nadine is Nadine, I feel seen, heard, and valued. Thus, I experience hope. And what is it that I want? I want my pain to end. Well, in the space of Nadine, I feel like my pain can end, like it's doable. So in other words, then I'm not going to kill myself when I feel hope. I might
Exactly.
I might do it when I feel other things, but I'm not going to do it when I feel hope.
See, and that is the key right there because not a lot of people I don't think they truly understand with depression and feeling suicidal, they I hate to use the word judge. Judge, oh, well, why would they do that? And why
Mm,
are they thinking that? We're not asking, and I say we're not asking for that. It comes to us and anybody, it hits us whether we want it or not.
Yeah.
So it's just like you think it with your brain, you can control it not to have those thoughts, but it's hard. You don't want to have them, but you don't know what to do. I remember going through all my pain levels. They gave me some Volta, but nobody told me don't cold turkey it. Like, they didn't know that, like, with Lyrica, I just said, "No, this is not working, I don't want it." Like, but I did that with some Volta, and that was the wrong thing to do, and I didn't know it. And I am
Mm,
talking it took maybe hours, and I was like, "Why do I feel like I wanna kill myself right now?" Like, I wanted to do anything, and it wasn't voices or anything, it was just this weird coming off the medication, feeling like I wanna say like the devil was right next to me going, "Hey, just do it, be fun." And that's what, it's like, "No, it wouldn't. Why is this happening?"
mm,
So, struggles, if you know somebody who is going through this and they don't wanna talk about it because they're scared to be heard, really, guys, stop and listen. Just listen, let them talk. You're saving a life too, because it's not the person doing it, it's just happening. It's just something like a chemical that goes to your brain and just wants to change you.
no,
So,
you're right, and I'm a freak about quotes. So there's a wonderful doctor, her name is Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, and this will go perfectly with what you just said. So Dr. Remen says, our listening creates a sanctuary for the homeless parts in another person.
yeah, very true. Very,
Just,
very true.
just people say, I don't know what to do. Just listen. Well, that can't do
That's all.
anything. Yes, it can.
Yeah. Yes, it can.
Because
You know?
you feel
Yeah.
heard.
Thank you. You see, my friend, she just passed. It's almost going like on 2 years, but we would talk almost every day right after I got off work at 5 o'clock. And it was always about being heard. This is way before the
Mm,
podcast. We wanted doctors to hear us, the guys we were dating, our friends, whether it was something to do with our kiddos. We talked about everything under the moon. It's like, why do I feel like I have to keep explaining myself to a doctor? Like, I feel like they're going in and just talking to Alexa. Like, nobody gives a crap about what I'm experiencing. Or I'll never forget, I had a doctor and I said, I had a decompression surgery. My back is hurting really, really, really bad. And that doctor goes, I think it's time we talk. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, I think you need to go to a psych ward and work this out. And you know what? She kept me there for an hour trying to convince me of that. And I was hurt. I was so sad, but I didn't believe her because I knew I didn't need that. I know my back was really hurting. So I ended up going to a CBD shop to see if
mm.
there was like any miracle thing. And they go, why don't you go? It's about 30-minute drive from here. Go to this chiropractor. They're going to do stuff your average Joe Blow doctor will not do. So the chiropractor did an x-ray of my back and she goes, "Oh my gosh." And she looked at my back and she got a pencil and circled it. "Hurry up, go to a back surgeon." They did the decompression wrong. It came out. My bones were rubbing on bones.
Ah,
So I will always reflect on that one doctor who didn't give a crap, who just told me I was crazy basically in the head. And I wasn't. I had a surgery. I have 3 screws in my back right now due to that. But yeah, I was like, being heard is so important. Relationships too. Stop picking up your phone unless you have kids. If you're out on a date, actually listen to your date. So not everything is like, oh, who's dinging me next? They always call that the grass is greener on the other side. Like, don't
mm,
go to the bathroom and just look at your phone while you're on a date too. People want to be heard, even if they're just going to be a friend basis, or whatever. So it's common courtesy. We didn't have these cell phones back in the day. And look at these people that are older than us, still happy, still married
No, well
because
said.
that did not interfere. So,
No,
yeah.
no, I agree with you. I think you're
Yeah.
100% right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, when you also touched base, what happened to you? I- I've talked to several people who've gone through that, and that is the hardest thing to go through. And I don't think, honestly, I'm going to just say it, you can go through so much therapy. And I don't know, has this actually helped you get thoughts away too? I got to ask because you got depression from what happened to you. Are the memories, the trauma, has that lingered away a little bit too?
No, it has, and I think there's been a lot of
Right.
therapy. And
Yeah.
then the other thing, there was an incredible. Maybe we have time. I'll tell you a quick story
Okay.
because this probably did as much. I'm reaching to grab something over here. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so I do a lot of work with the Army and help
Okay.
them as much as I can, which is great because my eldest brother, my dad, did 42 years. Enlisted, became a 2-star general. He's my guy. So I love working with the Army. So I was working with this unit. It's about a year or so ago, and at the end, and I've been there for 3 days. And at the end, the commander, who was a colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Trouse, said, "David, would you
Mhm.
please come? Would you please come to my office?" I said, "Yes, sir, absolutely." He says, so I sit down, and he says, "David, I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done over these last several days. Your viewpoint and your perspective on this and what you've shared with us in terms of what can we do to help create hope is very unique, and
Yeah.
it has made an enormous difference." But he said, "David, I got to be honest with you, I am so angry." And I'm like, "Oh," and I had that same kind of reaction, Nadine. So I said, "Oh no." And he said, "David, yeah, I'm not angry at you." I said, "Whew." He said, "David, what happened to you in the Boy Scouts? I can't accept that. I can't process that. I can't let that go." He said, "David, I was a Boy Scout. David, I was an Eagle Scout." He said, "David,
Mhm.
the best parts of who I am as a father, as a husband, as a commander, as a human being, I learned in becoming an Eagle Scout." And then Nadine, he reached behind him and he pulled out his wallet. And he pulled out, it looked like a credit card. And I'm like, I'm so confused. And he said, "David, when you become an Eagle Scout, they give you one of these." And he turned it around and he said, "It's an Eagle Scout card." So you talk to any Eagle Scout, it doesn't matter what age they are, they have their card. David, I got this card
Yeah.
on November 3rd, 1998. He
Uh-huh.
said, it's it's sacred. And then he gave it to me, and I held it, and I was like, wow, so I get, thank you for what you said, and I get it. And Nadine, I go to give the card back, and he says, "No, you keep it. You've earned it." So I have the colonel's card, and I cannot tell you how many times I have given a talk, and at the end of the talk, an Eagle Scout will come up and they'll take their wallet out and they show me their card. That man, that soul, wanting to try to heal, gave me a part of himself.
Yeah.
And that act, along with everything else that has been done in support of me, those things make it where I don't linger on that thought anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing. I know that was a hard question. You got me cry. I'm like all teary eyed. Um, yeah, it's the first time I had tears coming out on the podcast.
Colonel
Oh
Trouse
my.
is, I stay very closely connected with him, and he is, I always say, I'll text him. I say, "Hey, sir, I can never thank you enough." And he says, "You're the one doing the hard work."
Yes.
He's a guy like my brother. He's that kind of
Mhm.
man. He's that kind of man. So I was in New Orleans 2 weeks ago, and a young
Uh-huh.
captain in the Army came up, showed me his card.
Oh, wow.
It's like, it's good stuff. It's
It is. It really is.
makes me cry, but that's okay, you know? It is okay.
It is okay to cry.
Oh,
Tears are the
I cry.
best.
Oh yeah. ECT. It is just so I mean, I don't know what it is. It's always emotional, you know, I was aware of my emotions and had access to them and could express myself, but my goodness. Since
Uh-huh.
since
It's
ECT,
gonna bring more awareness and everything. So I
I
have my
know.
little turtle here.
It's actually
So
good. So
really,
anyway,
I want to jump in really quick. Have you ever, because we're just like on this topic,
right.
have you ever heard of snap bands?
I have not heard of Snap. Well, you know what? I want
So
to
they
say I
look
had.
like this.
All right, then I
It's
have.
this black.
Yes.
I have my
No,
Pandora bracelet over it, but
I get it.
this,
Yes.
yeah,
It
this one
says hope
says
on
hope.
it. Yes.
Mantra word. They call it the mantra word. So on the back, it has this gentle elastic. So, like in the world today, it's a stressful place. So, with school, relationships, work, health issues, finances, the nightly news is another one. There's anxiety every freaking day. So, negative thoughts can keep popping into our head over and over again. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of anyone loving
Mhm.
me. Bad things are always happening to me. So, if you ever have these type of thoughts, you're definitely not alone. More than 40 million Americans are diagnosed with anxiety disorder. And anxieties, worries, and fears can stop you from finding that inner peace and achieving your true potential. So you really do deserve to live the best life. Now they came out with snap bands, which helps you reduce anxiety, control OCD, and calm stress. And I'm going to throw PTSD in there because yeah, it's helped me with the medical part of PTSD. So these are cognitive behavioral tools based on proven brain neuroscience. And the way these work is amazing. So with the gentle tug, you'll go and just kind of gently pull it. It will hit there, but it sends a way to rethink with your
Mm.
brain. And they have all these mantra words. So they have now 8, but they have believe, blessing, dream, fearless, hope, love, peace, and faith. And I'm going to tell you about faith really quick because you can only get that with the code KHA. You know what that stands for, right? KHA, keep hope
Oh.
alive. It's their promo code. You get the word faith. Now they come in all different colors. They're made out of vegan leather. I get mine wet all the time. I take a shower. I'll go swimming with it. I've had mine on for a year and it's just been wonderful. All proceeds will go to organizations that help with,
Hmm.
anxiety or depression to help clear that out. So they want to snap it out. But I want you guys to go visit their website. It is wonderful. And just to be able to get that, off your chest using the mantra words. I use mine a lot for when I'm at the hospital. I will pray over basically the person that has to find a vein in my arm because I get missed. Like I'll be on my eighth one. We just can't find it. We need the machine. I've had a bunch of men stand around me and I was a class all of a sudden just for an IV because I had bad veins. So I hope my nurse can find it. And I'm always clinging on to this. And I wish I could have it on the way as I'm rolling into surgery and then take it off because I'll be using it nonstop. So I'll be like, okay, don't let me think of this. So yeah, now whenever somebody has to do a biopsy on me, it's because I got cut open wide a- wide awake, no time for anesthesia. And yeah, I had cellulitis. I could have died, but they had to get it out of me very fast. And I was just like, but it hurt. It hurt bad. So now when I go to the doctors, I'm freaked out like 100%. So, but to find out more information about snap bands, you can go to www.snapbands, which is SNAPP BANDZ.com. So I want to get back and, you know, I think we also talked about, I asked you if you were writing any books
Yes.
about the lessons, and everything you've been through. I don't even want to call the hell you've been through. So basically, they're lessons and learning, finding hope in them too. So yes, you have a book. I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yes. So the book is called The Blue Elephant, and it is basically an autobiography of me.
Mm,
Written, it'll be marketed probably as a children's book, but it's one of those children's books that any adult can read and find value. So
okay.
the text is done. I'm just right now looking for an illustrator, and then we'll move forward. But I would
Oh,
imagine
that's
my
cool.
hope is it would be done by the end of the year in time for Christmas.
Yay! That
Yeah,
is
because
so cool.
it's a really, I give credit to the universe, um, because the story that came through me is there's just some parts that when I read it, I'm like, that is such a good part. Just love one
Yes,
part in
yes.
particular. So it's not me, it's the universe. So yeah, so that'll be forthcoming very soon.
That is so cool. I'm so happy for you. That
Thank,
is wonderful.
thank you.
So, do you do other podcasts? And did you ever think about having your own podcast as well?
I don't think. I mean, I'm occasionally a guest on other podcasts. Really, and my hope is just to give a different perspective to this whole thing around suicide prevention,
Yeah,
and I just want to offer something different. Um, so, and I love to speak.
good.
I do a lot of speaking for businesses, for education from kindergarten all the way up to graduate school, and then a lot within community organizations and the military, of course.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. When you said military earlier, I was like thinking you said eHarmony, but I think you said the military. And I was like, he works at eHarmony?
No, oh
That
no,
dating site? I was like, "What is he talking about?"
no, speaking is my full-time gig. That's
Good, good,
it's what I
good,
love.
good,
And
and
all my I don't use PowerPoints and I don't use stats. It's story, story, story,
from your
story,
heart.
story. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I
exactly.
wouldn't wanna do that either. So, I kinda interview that way, and I'm not gonna
I love
study,
it.
I just wanna talk, It's just like, let's have fun, let's, find
This is
out who we are, share it with the world. So,
exactly. No, thank
yeah,
you
but
so much for having me on.
I know. I loved it, and I'm gonna bring you back on, and definitely, guys, when the book comes out, I will link it up into our store so you can get it, which is amazing. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions for David, you can always give us a call at 833-780-HOPE.
Mm,
And you can also go onto the website at www.keephopealivepodcast.com. Now, also, I would like to thank, you know what? I have to go by memory. Oh my gosh. Oh no, here it is. I'm all scrunched around. But I want to thank to our other sponsors that keep Hope Live afloat. As we mentioned, Life on Record was your interactive guest book for events that collects the voice messages. You can find them at www.lifeonrecord.com. And then we also talked about snap bands at www.snapbands.com, which is the bracelet that will help you fight the depression, anxiety, and OCD. Our next one is Ogden Ventures LLC. Mr. Marcus Ogden is a former football player, podcaster, and best-selling author. He has a wonderful show he puts on, and his speaking is down to the point, which is amazing.
mm.
You can visit www, and I'm going to spell this out, MarquesOdgen.com. Our next one is Bridal Shows Inc. Miss Naomi. She's been doing bridal shows for so many years now. And people from the United States are always coming to visit too, even though it's based in Dallas, Fort Worth. But if you want to meet your photographers, videographers, caterers, bakers, whatever it may be, and see a beautiful fashion show, she is the one to go and see. So, our next one is Bryce Harney at www.brycemagic.com. You probably might have seen him on TV this last year, but Mr. Bryce Harney is a mind mentalist and a magician who
Hmm.
is fantastic with the corporate events. He also does church. He'll interact with the sermon too, like
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So, I just tell people to jump on there and take a look at that. Our next one is milesandSmilesEvents.com. Miss Deborah Rose. She does handwriting and lipstick readings, and she's very accurate. Fun lady to have and down to the point also. So, but check out her information and she can do any event for you. And our last one is richmondpunch.net. Richmond graduated from the Juilliard's top honors. He is a violinist. He's been doing this for over 30 years. He had performed in front of a million people before. I think that was actually a funeral. And then he had two spots on Lifetime shows. And now he's out and about doing tours, which is amazing. So I'm so happy for him. Now, remember, wherever you guys find your can't talk podcast, that's my blooper of the day. You can find Keep Hope Alive. So, and if you would like to be a guest, just send us an email also. So, but once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I'm
No,
very excited. And
thank you so much for having me.
yes, definitely. So, until next time, guys, love and light. Bye bye.